This circuit-based routine is going to use upper body and lower body moves to make sure that the heart rate still stays high all the way through. It's a toning routine, but it is going to give you a cardiovascular workout at the same time. I'd recommend that you do a normal cardiovascular warm-up and mobilizer before you begin this. We're going to do a minute of each exercise. We're going to start off with squats. I'm using a little timer here, and I'm going to go from here. These are just basic squats. I don't want you to worry about how wide apart your legs are. Just find a natural width for you and go for it. Make sure that your toes are both facing forward and that your knees are running in line with your toes. The other thing that I want you to make sure of is that the knees don't go beyond the toes. So as you come into this routine, you're going to be pressing the hips back behind you, and that's going to stop you from letting these knees come forward. So that keeps the strain off the knees and it keeps you safe. You can see how straight my back is with this move as well. I'm not hunching down. There's lots of stomach strength going through this all the time. Now we're going to take a bit of a breather when we get to the end of our minute, and I'm going to go and grab some hand weights for the further moves that we'll be doing. So we've only got a few more of these. How are you doing? You feeling strong? That's the end of the minute, so take a quick breather. I'm going to go and grab the weights that I need. Okay, so ready for exercise number 2. I'm going to use some small hand weights here. Take them up above the head and back down. Now these are just 1 kilo, these hand weights. You could use a big bottle of water if you wanted to, or if you've got hand weights at home you could use them. So I'm just tapping them above the head and back down again. Big lateral arm raise. So we're going to do a minute of these. We're standing tall, the tummy's always pulled in tight. The shoulders stay nice and low and the head stays high. My knees are softened, they're not locked out, and I'm using the muscles in the tummy and the back to help keep supported all the way through this. So a minute of each of these. This is not going to help if the cat destroys my routine. How are you feeling? And that's the buzzer going now. Our next exercise is going to be back into our squat moves, but this time we're going to do a wide squat. So I'll take the legs about twice shoulder width apart here, and I'm going to turn the toes out slightly. When I come into this move, I still want the knees to be in line with the toes though, so I'm going to make sure that the knees come out to the side. So my minute's going to start now. And we're off. So wide leg squat. Now this is supposed to be the list of exercises that we're doing, but they seem to be going on an adventure, so we might have to grab them back at some point. But let's focus on the squats for the moment. You're pushing the hips back behind and you're keeping these knees in line with the toes. So if I show you from the side, you need to make sure that the knees still don't go beyond the toes, so you're sitting back down, pressing the hips out behind you. The back stays nice and straight. Big wide squat. Good. We're nearly through our minute now. Try and stay strong. Try and keep that technique. They don't have to be fast, just lots of control. And that's the buzzer going. The next exercise we're going to do is a tricep dip. I want to use as little equipment as possible for these, so we're just going to do these on the floor. So the movement I'm going to do, I'll show you before I set the timer. Hands in behind, elbows in line with the hands here, and we're going to be just bending the elbows and lifting back up again. So that will be our basic move. I'll press my button and we're off. You're joining me now into our tricep dips. You can do these off a chair if you want to, or a step, and if you want to make them a little bit tougher, you can lift your hips from the floor, so you're adding more weight into the move. Now the further you take your legs away, the harder this move is. So keeping that reverse plank, bending the elbows and returning. I'm going to take it into the easiest option here. Then we can see if we can get a little bit more bend through the elbows. So keep going. Won't be long till the minute's up. Just trying to keep those elbows in line with the shoulders, in line with the hands, so they don't flare out to the side, but they stay directly back behind you. That's how we get into the triceps. And that's our buzzer going now. So the next move that we're going to do is a lateral lunge. That's when we take a big step out to the side and back to the center. So I'll come back a bit here. Okay, so take a breather, get yourself up, make sure you're comfortable, and we're ready to go. So big step out to the side and back. Another side and back. We don't want this to be too fast. It's not supposed to be a cardiovascular move in itself. The cardiovascular component comes from doing upper body and then lower body moves. That's because the blood is being sent down to one set of limbs and then back up to the other. So the heart's having to work harder. Instead, we're keeping the actual moves quite slow and controlled to help us get further into them. And so we make the most out of every move. The other benefit of doing work this way is that the legs get a chance to recover while the arms are being used, and vice versa. So we can stay strong to the end and keep on going. So our minute's almost up. Stay strong, and that's our buzzer going. Our next move here is a lateral raise, very similar to what we did at the beginning, but a bit more controlled. I'm going to use these teeny tiny weights here, slowly taking them up to shoulder height and lowering them back down again. So another minute. You ready? Here we go. We raise them up and back down. So nice slow moves, keeping the arms extended. Make sure you don't let them bend at the elbows. You want to keep that length all the way through the arms. Make sure the shoulders stay nice and low as well. So as these arms raise, you're not letting the shoulders pull up towards the ears. You want to keep that body line long. So again, we're not hurrying these moves. We're not taking the arms up too high. We just want them to come up to shoulder level and back down. Keep going. And I'm sure our minute must be nearly up because these very small weights are getting very heavy. And that's the buzzer going. So I'm going to press the button now. And we look and see what's next on our list. Oh, now it's burpees. Burpees is a cardiovascular move, but I'm going to show you an option that means that it should be suitable for everybody. We're going to do the slow burpee. So we're going to come all the way down, step one leg out behind, then the other, bring them back in, and raise back up. Now it's up to you what kind of burpee you do, but a minute is a long time, so see how you go with this one. I'm going to press my button, and I'll show you the full burpee now. Out and up. So you can choose which burpee you want to do. If you want to do the slower one, you step out and you step back up. So that's our slower move. But you can do the jumping burpee if you'd rather. So I'll show you from the side. Into your plank hold with the burpee. So you're holding the tummy in tight. And again, you can step back if you want to. And I'll show you again. Or you can do the full move. Keep it strong, whichever one you choose. Oh, these are tough. I'm going to go back to that stepping out burpee. Oh. And that's the buzzer going. That's a tough minute, that one. And the next arm move we're going to do is an alternate shoulder press. So we take hold of our weights again and we bring them above the shoulders. We lift one up and then the other. Just as well, it's quite an easy one after those burpees. Here's my minute started now, and we're off. Chance to get my breath back, raising up and back. So as you raise and lower, keep the tummy in tight and keep the head nice and still. The more you can keep this body still, the more you're going to be holding the belly muscles to support the back while the hand comes above the head. We're looking really good so far. Just extending one hand up and then the other. We're about halfway through our routine just now. Okay, just a few more of these. You can be using a tin of beans or a bottle, and that's our buzzer going now. We'll put them back down. Look at our next lower body move. It's a standing hip abduction. So we're going to be taking the leg out to the side and back again, and then changing. I'm not going to swing this leg. I'm going to control it all the way out. And I'm also going to try and keep my torso very still, so I'm not leaning to the side. Okay, here's our minute. Just alternating from leg to leg, reaching it all the way out, leading with the outside edge of the foot. So I'm working on the muscles in the outside of the thigh and in towards the bottom. You can do whatever you want with the hands. It's usually a little tougher with them behind the back of the head here, just to make the tummy work a little bit harder. That leg can come up as high as you can let it without tipping over. What we don't want is to lift the leg high but tip over ourselves. We want to keep that balance all the way through. Make sure the shoulders stay nice and low, especially if you're raising those hands behind the head. And keep that move slow and controlled. No swinging of the leg. Last one here. And that's your minute up. Back to the upper body moves. And we're going to do push-ups. Now we're going to do box push-ups here, so that we're staying in a box shape on the floor. You could also do your push-ups on a bench so that your hands are higher, or on a table or a stool so your hands stay higher to make it easier. Or you can come down onto the floor if you want to do full body press-ups. But we're going to do a minute of these box press-ups because I'm not very good at them. I find them very tough. So coming down onto the floor here, I'll press my button and we're off. This still has an awful lot of stomach strength involved in it. Even though it's the arms that are doing most of the work here, we've got to keep this length through the back. And that means really drawing these belly muscles in tight. Keep the shoulders down as low as you can, lengthening the head away. And make sure that you're not just letting your head drop down towards the floor. One thing that we sometimes see is this kind of movement where people are pulling the nose towards the floor. Another thing that I sometimes see is people letting the shoulders do all the work, which is a shoulder press up, but it's not the move that we're looking for. So keep the shoulders flat in the back all the way through your press up move. Make sure the shoulders stay low, away from the ears as well, so you don't start to shrug into the move. That's our minute up, and they were tough. Now the next exercise we're going to do is a single leg squat. This is a bit of balance and it's a bit of strength all involved. It's going to work really hard through these gluteal muscles here. I'm going to do 4 on one side and then 4 on the other, because it's easier if you can do a few on one side before you change. You might want something to hold on to for this, so a countertop or a chair, but you might find it's just as easy without. Here we go, press my button. Single leg squat, keep the knee and the toe in line with each other. And it's not as deep as a squat would normally be. And I'm going to change here, so 4 on each side. I'm still trying to sit back down onto the heels here, so the bottom goes back behind me. And last one, and I'll change here. I'll show you from the side this time. Oh, so you're pushing those hips back behind, trying to keep that back straight, and change again. Doesn't have to be too deep, just keep these stomach muscles engaged. And again we change, trying to stick those hips back out behind me, pushing through the heels all the time. 4 and 3 and 2, last one, and we're done. Brilliant. Next upper body move, upright row here. So with the upright row you would need a heavier weight if you've got one. I'm going to use both of these in my hands here. I'm going to pull up and back down again. Now I'm going to lean forward slightly and pull the shoulder blades together so that I'm working through the upper back, because that's what this move is designed to do. And our minute begins now. Pull and relax. Exhale and inhale. So I don't want to hurry this move. I want to keep this move nice and slow. I'm squeezing these shoulder blades in behind my back as I raise the elbows up high. So big squeeze, slight forward lean, all the way through this move. And it's these elbows that are picking up that's going to make this muscle work happen for us. And we're very close to finishing this routine. And we've only got a few more of these to do. So keep the shoulder blades strong, keep squeezing them in together. I'm going to do 4 more. And 4 and 3, 2, last one. And we can release off. Okay, this next one is not so much of a toning move, but it is a balance move. We're going to do a single leg balance. So we're going to set the timer, just so we've got an idea of how long we want to do this for. We're going to stand on one leg and raise the other one off the floor. So you just hold here for as long as you can. If you find yourself stepping the toe down towards the floor, then stop and try it on the other side. If you find that it's quite easy to do this, you could try closing your eyes and see if you can still balance. It gets a bit wobblier there. When we get to about the 30-second mark, I'll change on to the other leg. So you're just trying to keep that balance lengthening through the spine. And we're going to change legs now. So again, you plant the foot firmly down to the floor. Keep the knee softened and raise this other leg from the floor. We don't want to hold on to anything here, but if you're concerned about your balance, you could have a countertop or something to hand just for safety. And again, if you find this really easy, you could close your eyes and see if you can balance with the eyes closed. And it's just a little bit tougher. I feel my ankle wobbling when my eyes close. So we'll keep going like this till the end of the minute. It's not going to tire you out, but it is going to check the other things that make us healthy. That's our balance and coordination. And that's the end of the minute there. Okay, you've only got 3 more exercises to go, and one of them is a real basic one, those bicep curls. So I'm going to grab my weights. These are really light. They're not going to give me too much of a challenge here. The bicep curl is a simple move, so I'll show you a few ways that you can make it a bit tougher as we go. Okay, so with our basic bicep curl, I've started my timer, so you'd better start now. We can hold our elbows in our waist, and that's going to isolate these muscles in at the biceps here, and that's what we really want to do, isolate the muscles at the front of the arms. So by holding the elbows in towards the waist, we know we can achieve that. But if we find that's too easy, we don't have enough weights to make that worthwhile, to make it challenging enough, then we can change slightly. We can bring the elbows forward and hold the upper arms in place, that's going to make the move just a little bit tougher. We still keep the shoulders back and down. We're still working hard through the torso, but these elbows just stay a little bit lifted and even as we come into that same bicep curl. So if you've only got some really light weights, if you're only working with tins of beans or a couple of water bottles now, then you can make it a bit tougher just by bringing these arms forward. And even just with these 1 kilo weights, that's quite tough for me. That's plenty for me to do for that minute. And that's the minute finish now. This is our very last body move, our very last lower body move. It's the lunge. I'm going to show you this from the front and from the side so you can see exactly what it looks like from both angles. We'll start our minute. I'm going to do alternate lunges. So I'll do one leg and back and then the other. Now I'm keeping my back very upright and I'm hoping that my knee is staying in line with my hip as I'm coming down. So what you're seeing from the front is the knee staying very much in line with the rest of the body. If I show you this from the side, we should find that the torso stays upright, so there's no leaning forward and back, and I'm just touching the knee almost to the floor and back again. Now if you find this really tough to do on the knees, you could always do a few on one side and then a few on the other. So like we did with those lateral raises with the legs, you could do 4 on one side and 4 on the other. But we're just doing alternates just now. I want about 70% of the weight to be felt in the back leg here. So there's a lot of work going on in this back leg. Last one here. And we've got one final move to do, an upper body move. It's an overhead tricep extension. So I'm going to use both of these weights here and take them over the head, lengthening the arms up as straight as they can go. I'm going to bend at the elbow and straighten. So let me press my button. You ready for the last exercise? And we're off. All the way down and raise. Now I want to keep the upper arms as still as I can here. So I want to try not to let them splay out to the side. Sometimes people will get a bit lazy and they'll find the elbows come out, but I want to keep them in line with the head here. It's the straightening action of the arms that works into these tricep muscles. So ideally we want to make sure that we lengthen the arms all the way up each time we do one of these moves. I see my friend is back to help me. So keep going, stay strong all the way to the end. Keep these arms in place, lengthening all the way up and back down. Starting to wish I'd chosen a lighter weight, but that's the buzzer going now. So that's you, a minute of each of these exercises. That was 16 different moves that you did, working your whole body, still getting that cardiovascular workout at the same time, everything working well. Thank you for joining me. Bye-bye.